Okay, I'm doing some shadow work, and I was listening to my inner dialogue, and I realized that my inner dialogue has been screaming to me that I'm hopeless, or screaming about hopelessness. And it's something that I've been carrying around unconsciously for years, and it's been building, particularly since my mom died. And so I'm working with that energy of hopelessness and pulling out my microphone. So this idea of hopelessness is something that I'm really rejecting. A part of me, like, there are many different parts of me. I have many different ways of being inside. I'm almost thinking that I have multiple personality disorder, but of course I don't. I just have many different personalities and many aspects of my personality. And my lack of commitment shows up even here in that I'm totally uncommitted. Whoops! I'm totally uncommitted even to one way of being. And there is a dominant personality that wants to come out, and that dominant personality is one that I have to be very careful of because it's a very positive personality. But it's not positive in the sense that it's really a happy personality that's positive and outgoing. It's positive as a means of control. So what happens is this personality comes along and it suppresses or squashes, it suppresses or squashes a feeling, for example, of hopelessness, and my positive side comes in in a very dominant way, and it squashes those feelings of hopelessness so that I never actually get to experience them on a conscious level. And the problem with that is that I have these wild ass mood swings where the hopelessness comes out because it's undeniable. It's there. It's a part of who I am. You can't really suppress these things. And the dominant self won't even let me experience them. It won't even let me experience being hopeless or feeling hopeless, because it loses control when I feel hopeless. And when I let myself experience any of my dark feelings, I feel out of control. I feel it's devastating, to experience these dark feelings. So as I was coming, I climbed up to the top of one of the hills here, and I was really observing this dialogue, and I'm like, what is that? What is that called? The tone. What is the tone of my my dialogue? And I started recognizing victimhood, and I started recognizing a bleak outlook, and it's so fucking subtle. This is what's really interesting, is that it's very quiet. It's a murmuring, and it's almost elusive. But when you start putting the pieces together, you realize that this is something. So when I was at the top of the hill, I realized that the word was hopeless. And at first my mind was like, that's ridiculous. I cannot even relate to that word. And the moment your mind says, I cannot relate to that, that's when you need to be looking and saying, okay, this is something I need to be relating to, because this is where the very dominant self, and I have a very strong personality, my dominant self is kind of like way out of control, and like it's such a bully, and that dominant self was like, no, I'm not hopeless. And then I said, okay, well, what I'm going to do is just explore what hopelessness means. And as I was walking down the hill, for me, I realized that hopelessness is never a word that I've ever associated with myself or my way of being. I don't use it very often, but it was this feeling of having no opportunity, of not having any real belief in any of my dreams, of feeling like I don't have the ability to accomplish anything. And what I did was, as I was coming down the hill, and I'm going to continue with that exercise here because I think it's just been so helpful and eye-opening. It's just this kind of embracing of the feeling of hopelessness. Now, this is very contrary to what my dominant self wants to do. My dominant self says, no, you don't feel hopeless ever. We don't even acknowledge that that exists. So denial is huge for my personality. And as I started to embrace hopelessness and saying, yeah, I'm a victim, just saying the words, it's kind of like I have this physical reaction of, I can't say that, that's not true. That's not the right way for somebody who's strong and modern to think. But actually, fuck it. I feel like a victim. I feel like the whole world is against me. And I've just been kind of giving myself this negative dialogue. And when I feel the feelings behind all the hopelessness, I felt the right side of my body, particularly around the top of my right breast, that part of my body really started to soften, and it felt like something was draining and releasing from that area. Really fascinating. I felt not lifting, but just total, like, calming and like I said, like a draining. And the thing that I found really interesting is that all these practices, I have a lot of resistance around a few things. Right now, particularly around writing and around moving my physical body. Now, writing, so where the resistance is where the hopelessness is coming in. And when I started looking at the writing, I thought, I'm never going to get this book written. This is too much of an endeavor. Hopelessness. And then when it came to running, having an easy commitment to run 3 miles every other day, it became, I'm never going to be able to get to marathon fit. I'm never going to control my eating. I'm never going to actually build myself up. I keep injuring myself. Oh my God, the negative dialogues that have been coming forth are just, they're colossal, and they're amazing, and they're all based on hopelessness. So my work right now is to do what I did with loneliness. I had been living with loneliness as a constant companion and denying it. It was one of those things where my mind, my dominant self, came in and was saying, you can't feel lonely. That's a really negative thing to feel. So I was denying that I ever felt lonely. But in the meantime, the loneliness was roiling underneath me and causing me such sadness, tremendous sadness. And right now, I've done a lot of work to partner with loneliness, allowing myself to feel lonely, allowing myself to embrace loneliness, and to literally, just be with those feelings of loneliness. And it was really, really hard. But what has happened in the past several weeks is that feeling of loneliness has really dissipated. I don't mind being alone, and I don't feel lonely ever, even when I'm out in the middle of nowhere on, some mountaintop. I'm up there by myself and there's nobody. I can't hear anybody. I can't see anybody. And I don't feel lonely. I can go and be in my room. I can, I just don't feel lonely. And it feels like a real live healing. So this is the work that I want to do with the hopelessness. I'm going to allow myself to wallow in it and to embrace it and to say, this is what I feel. I'm not going to deny it. And I feel the resistance inside of me. For me, that when that resistance comes up, it feels like a wall, like my whole insides get stiff, like I just emerge, a wall rises up, like you're not going to feel that. But actually I am. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to feel hopeless. I'm going to let it take its action, and I'm going to, like I did with loneliness, be present with it. There's going to be times when I need to be silent and I just need to sit and be feeling hopelessness. And there are going to be times when I have to try to do writing, or else I have to go have dinner, and I'm going to feel the hopelessness and I'm not going to deny it. That's what this healing process is about. And I'm going to let you know how it goes. But I'm pretty fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by this part of me that is out here in the world, who's come, thousands of miles from home to write a book and to create, retreats and to embrace a lifestyle of following my heart. And, to have an underlying feeling of loneliness or an underlying feeling of helplessness, when you're out in the world trying to create, it's really, it actually softens my heart quite a bit, It's like the human endeavor. It's the human experience. This is what we do, man. We go out and we conquer the world in our own little way, whether we're conquering it at home, building a beautiful home, raising a family, or if we're going out into the corporate world and we're going to build a corporation and, create a whole empire. What the fuck? It doesn't matter. We all have our own little creations, and it all starts from within us. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'll keep you posted. Okay, signing off.